Greetings to the 12 tribes of Yashaya and to those that are grafted in. I am back with another video, and today's video is urgent. Today's video is urgent. If you have children, please heed to this video. I've never asked you all in the past to share any of my videos, but today I am asking you to share this video. Um to anyone that you know, because time is of the essence. Okay, so back in 2021, I made a video, and in that video, I discussed the Most High had shown me how the a second pandemic was going to play out, and I shared that with you all, and as well as the methods, because I, made several videos warning people not to, not only take the vaccine, but also not to take a test, because either were the MOB. And so everything that I said was going to take place in that video is going to roll out this fall, this school year, because the goal is to get everyone maccinated. So just a little background on myself. Some of you all may not know, that haven't been, following me longer, or if this is your first time seeing one of my videos. But I was a school teacher in the public school system. Back when back when that happened, and we were told that we would be out for 2 weeks, that we would go home, for 2 weeks for quarantine. And then we end up that following school year, we were virtual. So everyone was home or whatnot. When we went back into the school building, they were pressing that everyone took the vaccine. And I refused. I declined several times. I was offered, $1,000 bonus, a day off work, and then taking surveys. What is your hesitancy? Why won't you get it? What are you hesitant about? And so a lot of people that were standing with me that would not get it, when they started offering the incentives like the $1,000 bonus and the day off work, they succumbed to it. So when we went out on holiday break during Christmas season, I received an email saying that since I did not, take the vaccine, that I would need to be prepared to take weekly tests when we returned. And so I reached out to my principal, to the superintendent, um, and I asked, could I do something less invasive? Can I do a spit test, get them a saliva sample? Can I do something less invasive of my own bodily autonomy than having something inserted, to the back of my nose or up to my brain or whatnot? And they told me, no, they only offered that particular test. And so I had no choice but to resign. So I resigned, and I was took the remainder of the year off, and then the following year I was privileged to be hired on at a private school. But during the time that I was in the public school system, there was a high push for the children to be prepared to receive that. They made a play about it. Um, they had the children very fearful if someone coughed and things of that nature. Um, it was just it was crazy. So anyway, um, this is rolling out this fall, and I will read to you what I wrote down. But I actually saw a sister's video. She is a Christian. You all know that I left the Christian church, and but the most high still speaking to his people. He's still speaking to his people, because this doesn't matter. This is coming for everyone. This is coming for everyone's child, whether you are a Hebrew, whether you are a Christian, whether you are a Muslim. This is coming for everyone's child, and this is going to be um a united effort from the United Nations. So, and everything that I say in this video is for educational purposes only, and my own thoughts. And this channel isn't monetized or anything like that. So let's go ahead. I want to show a bit of this sister's video she posted about a dream that she had, and then we'll get into a few things.
On what to do. It was like he was in the military, and he had trying not to cry, and he had prepared. It's like he was very skilled at whatever it is that he do. My God, and he had all of his equipment. He was ready for whatever this was fixing to happen. Whatever was finna happen, he was being prepared. And he came to me. We was in this hotel, but it ended up being like it transpired from out of the hotel to like little portable schoolhouses kind of things. And he was telling the people to get them a portable schoolhouse. He was telling them, trying to prepare them to get them somewhere, I guess, to take cover or to hide. And the people was all sitting down again, like it's like it was a church kind of. It was something dealing with the church. I'm not gonna add to this. It was something dealing with the church, and the church people was sitting around talking, just relaxed. The kids was playing like outside, and nobody was taking the man serious. That he was up there telling them, y'all need to get ready to get y'all a house. Y'all need to be finding your house. But anyway, I had a house in this like school podium. You know how they had them little school podium.
Okay, so I will try to tag this woman when I post the video, but I'm going to, for the sake of time, I'm going to jump down to about from 2 more minutes from minute 6 around here, minute 6:23 to maybe 8, maybe 2 more minutes. Okay, let's listen to the end of her video. So she says at the beginning of her video that that there was a man, and he was a military man, and he was very strategic, and she was at her church, and he was warning them and telling them that they need to get ready, and that they all need to get their children in portable schoolhouses. They all needed to get in portable schoolhouses. So, and she said that he was spraying something and sealing all the windows and doors, and he seemed to know what he was doing. My interpretation of that is that is Ahayasha, whom the world knows or calls Christ, but in Hebrew, Ahayasha. He was and the reason I say that is because he is our general. He is the captain of the Most High Ahayah's army. We know that when the children of Yasharallah were crossing over after Moses' death, when they were being led by Joshua to cross over into the promised land, um he was standing there with a sword, and Joshua went to him and asked him, "Are you with us or against us?" And he said that I am the captain of Ahayah's army, and I came to make sure that you all crossed over and that you all made it into the promised land. And then Joshua fell down, um, before his feet to and worship him. Okay, so that is our king, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, our king and priest after the order of Melchizedek, Ahayasha, that was a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night as we were led out of the first Exodus in Egypt. And he was there to lead us into the promised land in person. And he is going to be there. He's going to be here during these perilous times as well, but there are some very scary and perilous times approaching, but we need to be preparing for it. He is warning his people to prepare.
When I went outside, I saw a bunch of wolves. I saw first it was like three wolves, and they was big, and they looked like they was waiting on something. So I walked down the little thing, like they was kind of far off, and I looked down. It was like a thing looked like a Q-tip, but it was huge. It was like a stick or something, but it looked in the form of a Q-tip. And when I picked it up and when I pointed one way, the wolves turned and they focused on that way. It's almost like they was trained, like those wolves was trained. And so anyway, I dropped. I had, and then when I saw that they turned their attention that way, then I saw a whole bunch of other wolves come. They was in a straight line. It was so many wolves. It was so many of them. And then all of a sudden, I seen hyenas. I don't even know what a hyena looked like in the natural, but they looked like a bunch of little dogs, little frail, little raggedy, scraggly looking dogs with scraggly hair and long tails, and their teeth was sharp, and they was making this laughing, evil laughing sound in the dream. And I saw lions. I saw lions had a bunch of hair on their face, and I saw some lions didn't have no hair on their face. But it was so many of them. It was so many hyenas. It was so many wolves. It was so many lions. And when I dropped that stick, it's like those wolves went straight towards all of those people. Those wolves went straight towards all those people. And those wolves started eating and biting them children, and they were screaming and hollering. The parents were screaming and hollering. And I was so hurt by what I saw. And all they had to do was listen. All they had to do was prepare.
Okay, so I'm gonna chime in again. So the sister says that she walks outside and she sees a pack of wolves, a lot of wolves coming strategically, and she sees a stick that looks like a big Q-tip, and she picks it up and she's holding it, and the wolves' attention is on that stick, and she points it and they look in that direction. She said they look very trained. And then she says she sees hyenas, she sees lions, some with hair, some without. So we know lions with hair are the males, lions without hair are the lioness, the female lions. But then also I believe that this represents the Lion of Judah, um which is the tribe. So what she sees is an army, a very strategic army, and this army is diverse with various packs or nations of people that will normally oppose one another, we know that you won't see a hyena and a lion running together in the woods. When they see one another, they're going to fight. They hang with their own packs. But she sees this group of wolves, and we know that the Bible says that we are sheep amongst wolves. She sees this group of wolves and these other animals that are all together, and I believe that this represents an army. And when I asked the Most High, not necessarily about her dream, but I told you all in another video that I had a dream, and in my dream an angel got my attention and pointed, and there was armies lined up hiding outside of my home, and they were just waiting for a signal, and they were going to invade homes. And when I asked, like, I wonder what army was that? Like, was that the U.S. Army? Was that Russia? They always want to Russia and China. Was that Russia? Was that China? And I heard UN. I heard United Nations. Okay, UN soldiers on the ground here in America invading homes. All right. So now, what I believe the plan is, let me put my what I believe the plan is, you all, is that there is a plan to make sure that all of our children receive vaccine with a new um with a new outbreak. All right, so let's read a little bit about this. This is a pamphlet from the World Health Organization, and it says considerations regarding consent to the vaccination of children and adolescents between 6 and 17 years old. All right, so we're going to jump down to where it says consent. And I'll just read that quickly. Consent is the principle wherein individuals must give their permission before receiving a medical intervention or procedure. According to the laws and regulations in place in most countries, consent is required for a range of medical interventions or procedures, from a simple blood test to organ donation, and including maccinations. And only very few well-described circumstances, such as life-threatening emergencies, may consent be waived. Consent derives from principle of autonomy and forms of important parts of medical and public health ethics, as well as international law. International law. For consent to be valid, it must be informed, understood, and voluntary, and the person consenting must have the capacity to make the decision. Then we have what we call assent. Assent is the decision-making process when it pertains to minors. All right, assent is not regulated in the law like consent, and is sometimes referred to as a moral obligation, closely linked in good practice and dealing with patients. Okay, I want you all to remember that, a moral obligation, because they have paperwork and documentation that says if in the case of a pandemic where and you have the right to not consent, but in the case of a pandemic where you can actually harm someone else, or like they said, you can make your grandmother sick, or you can, if you don't have it, or you can make this person sick, or you can spread it because you don't have it. In that case, it can be waived. Okay, they can step consent. All right. And make sure that you receive the vaccine against your will. All right, they can mandate it. And your child, okay? So let's go to 3 here. It talks about implied consent. Implied consent, the implied consent process by which parents are informed of imminent vaccination through social mobilization and communication, sometimes including letters directly addressed to the parents. Subsequently, the physical presence of a child or adolescent with or without an accompanying parent at the maccination session is considered to imply consent. I hope you all heard that. Subsequently, the physical presence of a child or adolescent with or without an accompanying parent at a maccination session is considered implied consent. Okay, so this is saying, we know when we all had the school buses that are showing up to do dental services or give immunization to children. If they show up on a day that your child is present during a pandemic, that is implied consent, and they can take it upon themselves for the moral good of the world to inoculate your child, whether they have your consent or not. And it says this may include not letting the child or adolescent attend school on the vaccination day. All right, if it occurs through the school. So basically, they're saying if you don't want it to happen, make sure that your child is not there on that day. But they're not going to let you know when that day is. Okay. Now let's watch this video. So another thing, I made a video back a few months ago. They were trying to sign the pandemic agreement with 130 something some odd nations, right? It failed the first time. It did not pass. It passed this time. Okay. So all 135 nations have signed this pandemic treaty about mandatory vaccinations in the case of another outbreak. And then we know that there are people that just happen to have that just happen to know when these things are going to take place, such as Gates and Fauci and things, that people like that we haven't seen in a while. Okay, but let's listen to this. I'm sorry.
The COVID pandemic was a stark reminder to the world that we are not prepared. We're not prepared as a global community. There were times when there was inequitable access to vaccines, to therapeutics, to diagnostics. There was inequitable access to the health technologies required to produce them. And this was a call for the world, for leaders, that we need to do better next time around. We need a more coordinated approach. The WHO Pandemic Agreement will bring countries together to fight common threats through a coordinated approach. The aim is to have tools in place, to have a framework in place, so that we don't have to live those moments over again if a pandemic were to strike. The Pandemic Agreement, as a tool of international health law, it was created to ensure that we have stronger prevention. The first aim is to prevent outbreaks from happening in the first place. For example, they established pathogen access and benefit sharing system. It establishes a global supply chain and logistics network so that we don't face the challenges we had last time around. It also establishes a coordinating financial mechanism so that the funds that we have that are available are better coordinated to be used where they are needed the most. At the same time, it also includes provisions on strengthening capacities and strengthening the infrastructure when it comes to prevention, when it comes to surveillance capacities, when it comes to capacities related to research and development. It is a means to ensure equitable access to vaccines, to treatments, and to diagnostics when and where they are needed the most. What the sharing of pathogens aims to do is that if a country detects a certain pathogen, they share it on central systems, central networks, so that other countries can have that data, can have that information, and it helps them diagnose within their context as well. International solidarity is important because no country can do it alone. In today's interconnected world, we need to work together to better detect, to prevent, to prepare for, and to respond to outbreaks, to epidemics, and to pandemics. And to put it in short, I will only be safe when my neighbor is safe. So countries have to work together to get this done. It is a testament to the strength of multilateralism, bringing countries together around a common approach for common threats.
Okay, so I hope you all got that. She said that, and this was published 2 months ago, since they signed this treaty. She said that that this is about countries coming together for the common good. They're going to share the same database, and they're going to be coordinated for the next pandemic. All right, so I've always told you all that I believe that that the vaccine and the test were the mark. All right. So we've been programmed to be looking for a chip, a computer chip, something about the size of a grain of rice. But that's 1960s, 1970 technology. All right. Well, we're way beyond that. So let's just look at a few things here. I just typed liquid-based computer chips, and here's China Academy. Chinese scientists just built a computer chip out of water. The new water-based computer chip brings terahertz. Financialfuturist.com. Harvard Magazine. Liquid computing. Imagine a computer suspended in a flask of liquid, which assembles itself when the liquid is poured on a desktop. Sounds like science fiction. You all, this article from Harvard was published in November of 2001. Okay, so let's read. This is from the fanaticalfuturist.com. And it says American researchers unveiled the world's first liquid computer chip. I'm going to jump down to this paragraph here. The idea of liquid medium for computing has been around for decades. You all, has been around for decades. And amongst their many advantages, liquid computers will require very little material and space, and their liquid components could assume any shape. For example, within the human body, where it could tag team with DNA computers to help them turn the human body into a disease-fighting supercomputers. And yes, that's a real thing already. So remember I told you that the vaccine and the test targets your DNA, okay? We know that it's called mRNA. RNA, you are made up your genes, your double strand helix is 2 strands of RNA, one from your mother, 74,000 genes, one from your father, 74,000 genes. And altogether it totals 144,000. I'm sorry, 72,000 genes from each parent. So remember, this is John Hopkins medicine. This is from John Hopkins University. Remember, I told you all about thermogrippers, where the Most High is leading me to tell you all about it. I'm not telling you nothing. I don't know nothing. But the Most High is showing us or revealing to us, okay? So we have here what looks like a Q-tip, but on a computer we see on the tip we see little smart dust, what looks like little pieces of dust that are actually thin little computers that can carry information and can carry drugs and release it into the body. These are called theragrippers. All right, and they're about the size of a speck of dust. So we have that, and then let's take a look at this U.S. patent. This is U.S. patent number 201-300-85472A1. Microneedle nasal delivery device. And what it is a device that looks like a Q-tip, but it has little small microscopic needles that actually um deliver um medicine through intranasally. Okay, this patent was applied for on 9/3/2011 and was approved on 4/4/2013. So we see the way that this long stick here with the swab on the end. Okay. How is this going to happen? How's the next pandemic? How could possibly, allegedly, my thoughts, how could the next pandemic happen? I told you all during that time that we were all at home, and we had to learn from home. I had to learn to teach virtually. All the public schools, and I don't know about private, but I know all the public schools were updated with 60 gigahertz uh systems. Everyone was we rolled out and rolled over to 5G, and everyone was every school was upgraded with 60 gigahertz. So 60 gigahertz will give you radiation poisoning. Okay, this is from Cambridge University. Cambridge, look, Cambridge University Press. Let's go down to it says millimeter wave interactions with the human body. So let's go down and see how it reacts with the human body. So the primary biological targets of 60 gigahertz radiations are the skin and eyes. So exposure of the eyes leads to the absorption of EM energy by the cornea, categorized by free water content of 75% and thickness of 0.5 millimeters. Ocular lesions have been found after a high intensity exposure. So you have to think about they turn on this 60 gigahertz and your children are sitting there for 8 hours a day. Then some children have are in the after school program. Um, children could possibly start having lesions on their skin and in their eyes because 60 gigahertz also affects the skin. All right. So it says here it talks about how it affects the skin. The skin covers 95% of the human body. Um, three layers of skin: the epidermis, the dermis, and the subcutaneous fat layer. The skin also contains capillaries and nerve endings. Okay, so if this targets our skin, then we're going to see children there with weakness from radiation poisoning, with lesions and rashes on their skin and even their eyes. Lesions on their eyes and bleeding from the eyes or from these areas, okay? Um, SAR. SAR means specific absorption rate. So, in the context of magnetic resonance imaging, like an MRI, SAR would mean the rate in which the radio frequency is absorbed by body tissues during that MRI scan. So this is important. Safety concerns as high or if energy absorption can lead to the tissue heating. Okay, so just imagine your children cooking in this all day. All right. And so then that's one possible way. And then we have two new variants. This is from Medical News Today. It talks about one new variant called Nimbus. Okay. And so the Nimbus variant, alongside with the usual symptoms of C19, it can cause a razor blade sensation in the throat and gastrointestinal symptoms such as nausea and vomiting. All right, so that's through Nimbus. This was published on July 10th, 2025. Now, this was published on July 14th, 2025. The other one is called Stratus. The other variant, Stratus, has unique signs and symptoms as well. The symptoms of let's see, look, listen to this, you all. So it said respiratory symptoms. What are the available data symptoms? Those, okay, it says Omicron is, but let's see what Stratus, what symptoms. Oh, it says, oh, it has a sharp rise in hospitalization and high transmission rate. So it would be the next dominant variant worldwide. They always happen to know the future. So fever, chills, shortness of breath, sore throat, fatigue, headache, nausea, vomiting, fatigue, muscle and body ache, loss of taste and smell, diarrhea. That those were the regular symptoms. Let's see. Stratus, fever, chill, shortness of breath, sore throat, fatigue. So yeah, it's pretty much Stratus is gonna have all the same two symptoms that they all had before, which happened to just coincide with uh symptoms of radiation poisoning. All right, but what I find interesting is that Nimbus and Stratus are both names of types of clouds. So remember, let's take a look at this. Let me move this up first. right here. Nimbo stratus. Nimbus stratus. So you all, when we get these weird dark days, when we get these weird dark gruesome looking clouds where we can't see the sky, and then we're having these and then it rains, and and we have this crazy thunder. But these clouds here is nimbostratus. So remember, they always tell us, they always put it in plain sight of what they're doing or what it is. So I want you all to look at this. Let me erase that. Is new. Okay, I'm showing this under fair use. This is Dr. Mike Adams, and he has taken a sample of the clouds, a sample from outside, and he put them in cultures, and this is what he sees. And this is in the water areas, and you can see that we're starting to get, colony growth here. And these look like bacterial colonies, or you can kind of see more detail there. And those are absolutely expanding significantly. Part of this is growing in dry areas, and there we have now seen this mold. Here we go, zooming in on kind of the mold fuzz, and I'm going to gently blow on it here. If I say Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers, then you can see what it's doing. All right, so this is all new. This is all growing. It's pretty massive, but this definitely wasn't here when we started this, experiment. So this has grown. All right, here's a shot of one of those egg-looking things, which right here, to me, it looks like it's undergoing like mitosis or something. I mean, maybe after we incubate this another week or so, we're going to have all kinds of crazy life in here. I would not be surprised if that were the case. Okay, there it is. Those eggs are hatching. Look at that. That's hatching the blob. All right, so folks, that's what we're seeing so far. Definitely, I mean, one of the main questions was, is this alive? And the answer is yes. I mean, it's coming to life, clearly. So whatever was falling out of the sky, chemtrails, mystery fog, whatever, not only did this test crazy high in lead, it had alarming levels of mercury. It was high in cadmium. It was very high in aluminum. It was also high in copper and some nickel in there as well. All of those are neurotoxic, but now it's coming to life. Now, you might say, well, that shouldn't be surprising. There's mold spores and fungal spores in the air. I get it, but I've never seen those levels of heavy metals, which means that something is being aerosolized and dropped on us. And now we have to ask the question, are they trying to start a pandemic? Did they weaponize something that will grow inside people's lungs? And that's what this is replicating, this incubation chamber. It's dark and it's warm, about human body temperature, and it's moist like the lungs. So whatever's growing there would also grow in your lungs if you're just walking around breathing this stuff. So could this be an attempted respiratory weapon? I don't know. I don't have any proof that it is, but now we have proof that it's alive. Okay, so I just wanted to share that. And so just imagine if, your children are in school, and from breathing through whatever is being sprayed out through these clouds, nimbus and stratus, they start having respiratory type issues and coughing, and then they're going into the school buildings getting hit with 60 gigahertz of radiation every day, which is also going to be causing muscle weakness, lesions on the skin and eyes. And so I'm telling you that this is what the Most High showed me that I made a video about a few years ago, that they are going to the schools are going to be locked down by UN military, and for the greater good, they're going to say, okay, back in 2020, we highly recommended it, but now it's mandatory. And you know how when you drop your children off at school, you have to be buzzed in or out. They're locked in there. The front office has to buzz you in or out. You won't be able to access your child. They won't be able to leave. Families will be separated. Um, I mean, putting children on school buses, hauling them off to camps, all kind of craziness. And so I'm telling you now, the best thing to do is just get your children out of that environment, homeschool them, or ask the you know, you can personally homeschool them, or a lot of school districts offer homeschooling, uh, as long as your child has a laptop. So you need to look into something like that. And I believe that's when the sisters, the beginning of her dream, where she was saying that Ahayasha was saying, get portable schoolhouses for your children. This is what he's trying to warn about, what these wolves in sheep clothing are coming to do. And so what, this is what I'm going to say as well. Let me show you this. I showed you all this before. HR 6666, the COVID-19 testing, reaching, and contacting everyone, the Trace Act. So remember, they're going to track and trace. So even if you start your children off at the beginning of the year and then they start coming home saying, Mama, I'm not feeling well, or such and such was sick and such was out, you know, as the symptoms start coming on, and then you just decide, okay, I'm going to pull my child out. They can show up at your door and say, your child was there, you know, your child was present when these children were going to school and the outbreak occurred. So they can show up at your door, demanding to, you know, forcibly administer the vaccine, or even remove your child from your home or whatnot. So please, 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 you all, the Most High is warning. The Most High is warning. Um, where is, trying to find what I wrote. Sorry, you all. Oh, here it is. I apologize for having to be out in the car too. Okay, so this is what I wrote. There are UN soldiers in the US that are stationed. They already have their assignments. They're just waiting on the signal to move in. They will invade homes under Operation Track and Trace, the House of Representatives Bill 6666. The U.S. Okay, and the U.S. was dissolved of being a nation when Trump declared a state of emergency back um, during Operation Warp Speed. That is why everyone was given a stimulus check, because Babylon had fallen. And just as any corporation that goes under, um, the employees of the corporation were given their severance pay, we have been under UN rulership since this nation was turned over to FEMA, who has been working hand in hand with the United Nations during the Biden, since the Biden administration. And during the Biden administrations, the border were open. UN soldiers were coming in as refugees under asylum from various nations, such as different parts of Africa, the Middle East, Ukraine, and Russia. So that is what I have, and I pray that you all take heed to it. I pray that please let's all just pray for our children, cover our children. I know everybody just you can't afford to just be at home or whatnot, but I don't know you all. It is you you gotta sacrifice. And because you're turning your children over to a bunch of strangers, and these people are wicked, and so please, please take heed. Um, and I have two more parts that I'll talk about with with these plans, but take heed, share the video, and have a blessed day. Shalom. Until the next video.